to Versus Character Card.
What's up and welcome to Versus Character Cards, the Versus show without the verses. In this series, instead of analyzing two fighters and figuring out who wins in a battle to the death, we are only covering one character at a time, researching who they are and what they can do. Kinda like a versus cheat sheet or a respect thread in video form, which is pretty cool because you can use this research as a base for your own research in your own versus show. And be sure to stay tuned until the very end so you can see who we are covering next. But today, we have Sora from Kingdom Hearts. Now yes, Smash is the reason I'm doing Sora now instead of my originally planned character for this episode spot, but don't worry, following the trend is coming back to bite me in a big way. Because now, the most popular versus show on YouTube is using a character closely related to the originally planned character, so now it's gonna look like I'm copying, blah. But anyways, that probably gave away who it was going to be, so let's just go ahead and begin with Sora. Sora's story begins on an isolated piece of land called Destiny Islands. He grew up there with his two friends Riku and Kairi, and together they dreamed about leaving the island and going to see the rest of the worlds. However, after they finished building their raft and gathering all the resources for their trip, everything began to go wrong. Their island fell into darkness. Sora, Riku, and Kairi got separated. Sora got gifted a giant key for some reason and managed to find himself in the company of two Disney characters, Donald Duck and Goofy. Sora would climb aboard their gummy ship, and together with his new friends, he would travel across various Disney worlds, saving them from darkness while looking for his old friends. And that's all there is to the story. Yep, all there is. Nothing more to worry about. Organization 13? Who? Anyways, let's talk about that weird key thing. Yeah. Okay, so that weird key thing is actually called a Keyblade, a magical weapon that can destroy darkness and unlock hearts. Now, it's unclear if the Keyblade is a sword or not because Sora tends to whack things with it like a club rather than slice things, but it appears to be a pretty effective weapon no matter how it's used. He can dash towards enemies with the Sonic Blade, he can throw his Keyblade like a boomerang at enemies with Strike Raid, he can shoot beams from his Keyblade with Ragnarok, and he can let the Keyblade go on autopilot, hacking and slashing at everything in front of him with Ars Arcanum. It's not just a melee weapon though, Sora can also perform many different types of magic with it, like fire, ice, thunder, he can cure himself, create a wind shield, stop time, control gravity, control water, and he even has several different methods for reflecting projectiles. He also has a bunch of summoning spells, but of course, according to the rules of Versus, that shouldn't be allowed because it's outside help. The same goes for many of his drive forms, like his wisdom form, his valor form, and master form, as they require party members to help. There are some he's been able to use on his lonesome though, like his limit form, which allows him to reuse any abilities he's unlearned or forgotten in the past. He has a darkness form where he becomes a heartless-like creature and just darts around the area hitting anything in his path. And then of course there's his ultimate form, where he can just control massive storms of different swords and keyblades. Sora can also use his magic to materialize a bunch of amusement park rides for attacking his enemies. He can make a giant railroad track, do the teacup rides, do a merry-go-round, a water ride, and even a gigantic pirate ship. His Keyblade can even transform into different weapons depending on which one is used. It can become ice skate blades, a giant rocket hammer, a yo-yo, and more. I could keep going with all the different things the Keyblade can change into, but then we'd be here all day. You get the point though, it can switch into a bunch of different things and they're all powerful. Each one even comes with their own unique shotlock ability, which is like the previously mentioned Ragnarok ability but on steroids. So many of Sora's attacks are huge and just have this massive area of effect. It's gonna be hard to get close. Especially when you take his physical stats into consideration. On the topic of Sora's speed, he far exceeds the speed of light, outpacing it by thousands of times over. You've heard the feat about how his Keyblade beam can hit the moon in a ridiculous amount of time, he deflected a ton of light speed lasers from Xemnas, and he scales to Zeus in both speed and power who moved a ton of different star systems. His speed reaches the hundreds of millions of times faster than light category though if we scale him to Roxas reaching the Keyblade graveyard. Now before you call that an outlier, it's actually extremely consistent with Sora being able to manually pilot the Gummy Ship. The Gummy Ship can travel between different worlds in the Kingdom Hearts universe in a matter of minutes, so in order to find out how fast this is, we need to find out what world means in Kingdom Hearts. Now, your first assumption may be that world just means a planet, but every time you see a world getting destroyed in Kingdom Hearts, you can see a star going out in the sky. But it's not star or solar system level either. There are several worlds in Kingdom Hearts that take place on Earth, however in different time periods, like ancient China in Mulan, and modern-day San Francisco or San Fransokyo in Big Hero 6. You cannot explain this with time travel either, because thanks to Olympus Coliseum and Birth by Sleep, it proves that the timelines of the Disney worlds move in sync with the rest of the Kingdom Hearts universe. The only completely logical way to explain this is that these are all completely different Earths with their own suns and solar systems in their own galaxies. I mean, the Monsters Inc. world literally is a parallel Earth, and the story of Lilo and Stitch does take place across an entire galaxy. So, by being able to pilot the gummy ship, Sora shows that his reaction speed is fast enough to travel across entire galaxies in mere minutes while fighting and shooting down enemies. That is completely insane, and considering Sora was able to defeat foes like Xemnas, who had the strength of most of these worlds when he was powered up by an incomplete Kingdom Hearts, this means a lot of good things for his attack potency too, at multi-galaxy to low universal. Yes, Sora did have Riku to help him, but half a universe is still half a universe. I mean, he can also take hits from Genie and all his phenomenal cosmic power. But I think you get it. Even on a topic as niche as versus debates, did you really expect Disney to do anything less than completely dominate? Watch out for the power of the Keyblade.
I have nothing to fear.
You're stupid!
Time for the conclusion segment. In conclusion, Sora is ridiculously powerful. He just reaches the bare minimum for Universal, which leads him to having a ton of really cool and close matchups if we're just talking about power alone. However, if we bring his 170 million times faster than light speed into equation, it gets a lot trickier. Especially considering his vast arsenal of different abilities and powers would still be there regardless of which stats you pick and choose. Let's take Dante from Devil May Cry for example, since I've done that matchup before. If for whatever reason you believe in Universal Dante, he may be slightly stronger, but Sora's incredible speed and insane arsenal would just smother him to death. Sora should be able to speed blitz most of his close matchups and then keep them away if they are quick enough to get in thanks to his large area of attack abilities. So, I'm having a bit of a hard time, but if you can think of anyone that can give Sora a run for his money, be sure to let me know down in the comment section below. Now, let's see who's next.
Next time on Versus Character Cards, it's Aang from Avatar: The Last Airbender.